Hey, what's going on, nerds? I'm Jordan Hill.
Hey, I'm Matt Hall, and today on Have You Played, we're checking out my review of a really awesome indie title called Huntdown. Huntdown is the debut game from Swedish developers Easy Trigger. It was published by Coffee Stain Publishing, who also brought us, among other games, Goat Simulator, Valheim, and Deep Rock Galactic. The game is a 2D shooter in the classic style, reminiscent of games like Contra, Metal Slug, or Gunstar Heroes. It's got a cyberpunk look, and it takes place in a dystopian future where megacorporations have taken over nearly everything. The only alternative to bowing down to these megacorporations is to become a criminal or to become a bounty hunter. The player takes on the role of one of 3 different bounty hunters and embarks on a crusade against crime that spans 20 different stages, divided into 4 main areas, with each area being controlled by a different gang. I found out about Huntdown while looking up different mobile games, and I wound up downloading a free demo to play on my iPad. I was immediately taken with the overall presentation, but all I could think was how much better the game would be on PC. Well, to my surprise, the game was on PC, and so I picked it up during a recent sale. The core gameplay of Huntdown will be very familiar to anyone who's played an action side-scroller. It's a tried-and-true formula that, when done well, can be a lot of fun. Thankfully, Huntdown does it very well. The player has a main weapon with infinite ammo and can pick up a wide variety of secondary weapons and projectiles. You have a health bar, you have a dash move that allows you to evade attacks, and that's about it. The foundation of the game is very traditional, but Huntdown excels because it finds ways to make every level stand out in its own way. The player is constantly being introduced to new weapons, items, enemy types, and obstacles that keep the game feeling very fresh over the 8 or so hours that it'll take you to run through it on normal difficulty. In addition to the gameplay always feeling fresh, every level has a very high level of detail and character. There's clearly been so much love put into this game. Like a lot of retro or throwback style titles, Huntdown does contain a large number of references, Easter eggs, and jokes regarding pop culture. In some games, like Retro City Rampage or even the Grand Theft Auto series, these references can be kinda grating for me. Having too much of that stuff can make a game feel like cheap and childish fan fiction, but Huntdown somehow incorporates these references in a way that doesn't distract from the creativity and original ideas that are on display throughout the rest of the game. While the entire presentation is clearly a pastiche of movies like The Warriors, Blade Runner, or Big Trouble in Little China, and bosses in the game are often very reminiscent of prominent pop culture figures.
You're in the hoodlum turf, mate. Means you're all mine, yeah.
The game never uses those things as a crutch. Although there are moments where the game is just straight up referencing something from 80s pop culture, more often than not, the game is drawing inspiration from those things to create a work that feels authentic to that era in its tone and visual style. Huntdown features full voice acting, and all the performances are very entertaining. The game is also pretty difficult, but I wouldn't say it's ever unfair. Some bosses took me a few dozen tries to defeat, but that's because each boss fight is really unique. The game is always presenting new challenges to the player, and you have to take time to learn how to overcome each new obstacle that you face. Thankfully, it's the sort of challenge that keeps the player wanting to come back rather than just rage quit. While playing Huntdown, I was reminded of titles like Contra 4 and Cuphead, games that took an old school genre and then pushed the limits to create something that would really engage modern players. Like I said before, this is the first release from Swedish developer Easy Trigger Games. I'm really excited to see what the studio does in the future. Huntdown is a relatively short game, but every single aspect, from the controls to the sound to the graphics and story, is really top notch. I'd highly recommend Huntdown to anyone who loves video games.
Hey, I gotta say, that game looks sick. But
Where'd you find this?
But Jordan, I have one question for you, bud.
What's that?
Hey, listen, partner.
Big dog?
Listen, boss, have you played Huntdown?
Well, champ, can't say that I have.
Well, Tiger, I gotta tell you, it's a very, very fun game. And so, as I said in the video, I was looking up a list of like good mobile games. I have an iPad that was given to me as a Christmas gift. I've never had like a mobile device. So I'm just really curious about like mobile gaming. Like I think it's an untapped market for like fucking sick games.
Actual quality games.
Yeah.
It's overloaded with just stupid bullshit.
Oh yeah,
time-killing
and
games.
there's like seems to be like no quality control on the App Store. Like I see so many like on the speaking specifically about the Apple Store, because the Google Store actually seems a little more curated,
a little more tame.
but man, I see so much bootleg shit and just like horrible like scams, like big and most of them seem to be. Not to get too deep, but they seem to be like data mining scams, where the apps ask for access to all your shit, and then you like when you agree, you're like, yeah, I have all my shit.
Why does Jetpack Joyride need access to my camera and all my photos?
It's like I don't think that people are always reading that stuff and realizing that they're literally giving access to all of their data sometimes on these apps. Not to say all of them, but
just to play solitaire.
Yeah, it's like especially, man, I was just trying to find like a good solitaire. I was trying to find like a port of the Windows 95 solitaire.
Yes, I got one for you.
I got one eventually, but there was I went through a bunch first. I was like, oh my god, these are scam apps.
Absolutely.
Like the more generic the game is, the more of a scam it's gonna be.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have covered a couple like fun mobile games in the past, but this was one that came up and I downloaded the free demo and I was like, what the fuck? This is incredible. But I'm trying to play, the touchscreen controls on...
I've never played anything on an iPad, but...
Well, but or even on like on a phone, there's like a D-pad and then the buttons and it's just kind of there. It makes a little more sense on a phone because of the scale, but on an iPad where it's like that big, it's awkward. And I was just like, damn, if I could fucking play this with a controller.
Yeah.
I've played so many of these games, but I'm not in the episode. The on-screen controls suck.
On-screen, okay. As you can hear off camera, our producer is saying the on-screen controls suck. Yeah, I could see some games where it could be good. I don't think on-screen controls should try to simulate a controller.
No, I like games where it's kind of it almost uses it in a similar way to the way that some handheld systems tried to work, or the way like the Wii tried to work in some aspects, where it's a weight thing, or you're kind of just applying pressure to different points and that makes you do separate things, but it's a really difficult thing to navigate as a developer, I'd imagine.
I think like swipes work best. Like I play games where you swipe like Endless Runners, where you're like you have like maybe 3 lanes, you're like swiping left and right to get into different lanes.
Yeah.
Or holding to jump. Like that works, but like trying to actually play a pixel perfect fucking tactile shooter like Huntdown.
Yeah.
I was like, oh damn, like I'm clunky where I know if I was on a controller, I'd be killing it. So anyway, like I said in the video, it's on everything. I think it's even on Switch. And another thing I want to do mention in this video, they have been making Huntdown arcade cabinets.
Oh, okay.
You can like, I don't know if it's available to the public yet. They've shown videos of some of their prototypes as they're like building it, but they'll be pretty much made to order one-off Huntdown cabinets that look amazing.
I bet.
It's totally the type of game that would translate to arcade cabinet controls.
From the moment you sent me the trailer for this game, I feel like about a month ago maybe it was a little bit longer. But
it was actually much less.
A week ago, in fact. It
was this morning. What the fuck is wrong with you?
But anyways, from the moment I saw this trailer, I immediately fell in love with the game. And like, as I said earlier, I haven't played the game yet. For whatever reason, I'm putting it off. But everything about this game seems like something I'd love. I love things that don't take themselves too seriously while still delivering on a level you'd expect from, you said this is their first release, this studio.
Yeah.
And I mean, just watching the gameplay and watching you play it, watching the trailer, it seems like a AAA release to a degree as far as side-scrollers go.
Yeah, incredible, like the amount of detail, like in reviewing the footage, I was seeing like things in the animation of different enemy attacks and even of my player character that I didn't notice during the gameplay because I was so focused on, not dying.
Yeah.
That in retrospect, I was like, holy shit, they just like piled on so many little bonuses and like, I don't know how to put it. Like, it's just a fucking dense game in terms of detail in the visual style. And it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, something I noticed that this is more of a gameplay question for my personal taste, but I know it advertises itself as a shooter, and it seemed like you were just using the guns throughout most of the footage you had, but I saw katanas and baseball bats and hockey sticks and wrenches lying around.
Yeah, so similar to a lot of like side-scrolling beat-em-ups from that era, from the 16-bit era, which this game is obviously, taking inspiration from. There are a number of melee weapons to pick up, and it's kind of a risk-reward thing where obviously with a melee weapon where everyone else has guns, you're going to be putting yourself a little more at risk. I'll eat that fly if you don't mind. Yeah, you're gonna be putting yourself more at risk, but they're extremely powerful.
Okay.
So they are viable, but they do take a little more skill to use, and it was cool that. I don't know if I really communicated this in the review video, but like every weapon feels different. And so you have your main weapons and your sub weapons, kind of like your like projectiles, grenades, throwing stars, and the melee weapons, and then all the different guns you can find. Like everyone feels different. Everyone has a different strategy because some have a little bit of blowback.
Right.
Some take longer, reload times or, fire rates are different.
Yeah.
So yeah, the melee is viable, but it's definitely like a risk-reward thing where you gotta be sure that like, are you gonna commit to using melee? Because you're vulnerable.
That's interesting to me because I love any game where it kind of gives you different avenues through which to play it. Just as with something like combat, not necessarily. It doesn't seem like an open world game where you can make big affecting decisions, but you can still play it your own way throughout the whole thing.
Like and like often you'd get maybe like up to like 4 different guns you could pick from at any one time. That because guns spawn from like crates or from enemies will drop them. And so sometimes you'll be going into a section where you're going to be like facing a swarm of enemies or a boss.
Yep.
They'll give you a selection of guns to use, and you can kind of like pick your strategy based on which guns and which weapons and supplementary items that you enjoy using. You can pick that and go forward kind of with the style that works best for your play style.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect that level of choice from a game like this because I thought like indie studio, first game, pixels, but it's like, even the full voice acting, like every single element of the game is so in depth and it's packed into this like 16-bit package that would look primitive, but it's not.
You almost don't expect much from it because of the side-scrolling 16-bit classic kind of look.
Yeah, because studios have been guilty of kind of like
mailing it in.
Yeah, especially on the pixel art stuff where it's like it's throwback. Look, it looks cool. I would say this is like right up there with something like, I don't know if you've ever played Blazing Chrome.
No,
but I know Andrew, who is off camera, and I have played Blazing Chrome.
Yeah.
Same producers, same development team that brought us Odalis, I think is how you pronounce it.
That's good too.
It's just, if there were no boundaries on 16-bit hardware, what would that game look like? It would look like Huntdown. I feel like I'm just gushing this whole discussion here. The game fucking rules. I have nothing negative to say about it. It's so fucking good.
I'm excited to play it.
I hope you, viewer, are also excited to play Huntdown. And hey, if you played Huntdown, let us know. Otherwise, I don't know, would you, Jordan Hill, care to know what they're playing?
I mean, honestly, if you don't put in the comments what you're playing, I'm gonna fucking lose it, okay? And so what I need you to do after that is smash that like button only if you like the video. If you don't like it, get out of here, okay? But if you want to stick around, you want more of this, you gotta subscribe, or we're all gonna starve to death here. That's it. Thanks for watching.
I didn't know the stakes were that high, but thank you. I hope I don't fucking die. Heart attack.